G'day from Paris, just after the Austrian Grand Prix at Spielberg. What did the drivers drive to the track? I know, I saw every one of them, and I'll share my information with you in just a moment. One of the great things about the car park at the Spielberg track, the Red Bull Ring, is the fact that it's right outside the swipe gates. It couldn't be closer, and that meant that I was able to see every single driver arrive. I'm going to kick things off first of all with the Mercedes drivers of Lewis Hamilton coming in this blue EQS 53, a beautiful electric vehicle. This is a car that does 0 to 103.8 seconds. It is lively. It is completely electric, has mood lights inside that you can change the colour of. It does about 606 miles, or nearly 1,000 kilometres on a full charge. And it has 3 screens in the front, a digital dashboard, a middle screen, and one for the passenger. I can tell you too that his teammate George Russell was also in exactly the same model car, although a different colour. And on one day, George Russell arrived at the track in his car on his own. That's very unusual. Normally there is always a second or third or fourth person in a car. Drivers rarely roll up on their own. There were a number of people hanging around that car park and waiting for drivers, particularly over the Saturday and Sunday. How do they get there? Well, they're typically Paddock Club guests, and they've got tickets that allow them to go in another gate, and they just simply walk around a bit further. The drivers themselves drive in past the main grandstand, go underneath the track and end up over here at that driver's car park. Then it's a very brief walk into the paddock. Next up, the Aston Martin drivers, both Lance Stroll and Fernando Alonso, driving DBXs. Not the ordinary ones though, this is the 707, as can be identified by the front grille. One was a matte finish and one was a gloss. And what makes the 707 special? Well, it's bloody quick for a start. Does 0 to 103.3 seconds, starts at around $240,000 and has a 9-speed automatic gearbox. And did they walk in through these main swipe gates? No, they were dropped off at the other end of the paddock because the Aston Martin suite was situated down that end of the paddock, and it was a much quicker walk from that gate than it was from the main middle gates. Alpha Tauri drivers, both Nick de Vries and Yuki Tsunoda, in the very compact and sporty Honda Civic Type Rs, with Yuki's car here in red having these magnificent red seats. The McLaren drivers did not drive McLarens again to the track. Instead, they settled on Volvos. Now, Oscar Piastri drove an XC90 last race, and he backed up again this week with an XC90, while Lando Norris was in an XC90 this week. And last week in Canada when I say last week, it was a fortnight ago, had the V90. Nico Hülkenberg, he was one of the few drivers who did the green carpet walk on Sunday. He was driving the car, jumped out, and then the rest of his crew parked around the back. And he walked down the green carpet, entertaining many of those people waiting for him. And they'd been waiting there for some hours. But what was the car that he was dropped off in? It was indeed a Mercedes 300D. Kevin Magnussen was in a Lexus. This is indeed an RX 450h Plus. What's the plus? I don't know. This is the first RX plug-in hybrid and seats 5 people in comfort. And the marketing material says when the battery is discharged, it transforms into a self-charging hybrid and maintains high-level efficiency, reflected in the average fuel consumption of 1.1 litres per 100 kilometres. It's impressive. French driver, Pierre Gasly, was driving a French car, as you can imagine, a Renault Austral. And this particular car had lots of Alpine logos over it. But perhaps more impressive was Esteban Ocon's Alpine 110. Have a look at this vehicle. For a start, it does 0 to 103.9 seconds. This version is 34 kilograms lighter than the previous model. I gather because it's got a heck of a lot of carbon fibre on it. And for this model, the rear glass is gone, so rear visibility is substantially hindered for the sake of weight. And does it have normal seats? No, it has almost racing-style seats. These Seabelt track monocoque seats are more at home on a racetrack than they are on a road car. And price-wise, it was tough finding an exact price for this vehicle, but I'm going to suggest in France it sells for around €71,500. The 2 Ferrari drivers were driving the exact same vehicles that they drove in Barcelona. I'm not talking the model, I'm talking the exact car. Same rego number. Here we go, Barcelona. Here we are in Austria. These are SF90s. This is almost a hypercar. It's quite spectacular, and if you have a look at the stats on them, very impressive. 0 to 100 in 2.5 seconds. That's supercar type speeds. Lithium battery, goes up to 26 kilometres with electric range. Price-wise, in America, just over $500,000, or if you want the Spider, which is the convertible, that's $575,000. And there are 4 modes that you can select from in this car. But I can tell you that if the driver walks too far away from the car with the key fob in his pocket and the car's still running, the alarm goes off and it honks and honks and honks. I can tell you that because that's exactly what happened when the drivers rolled up for the green carpet walk on Sunday. Charles got out of his car and then went straight down and started entertaining the waiting crowd. Meanwhile, his car's going off in the background with this alarm. Eventually, the communications manager, Sylvia, from Ferrari, dropped the key back to Andrea Ferrari, who repositioned the car. And thankfully, the alarm went off. Carlos, on the other hand, he turned his car off and gave the key fob to his, I think it was his trainer, Rupert, who drove the car around to the driver's car park around next to the swipe gates. There are 6 drivers now to talk about, and I'll go straight to the Alfa Romeo drivers, and nothing out of the ordinary here, my friends. As usual, they were driving Alfa Romeos, and in Valtteri's case, this is what he was driving, and Zhou Guanyu in this one. This is the Tonale Special. This is an SUV that's not terribly expensive. I did see some figures quoted for France in the high 30,000 euros. And in terms of performance, 0 to 100 in about 10 seconds on some of the models. That's leisurely. Alex Albon was driving a Mercedes, a rather tame one at that, an E200D, and his teammate Logan Sargent was in a C200D. And our final 2 drivers are Red Bull drivers, with Max Verstappen, the current world champion, and there is absolutely no chance of him getting beat. Well, there is a very slim chance. And in fact, coming up, I'm doing a video about when the soonest Max can win the 2023 championship, but I digress. This is what he was driving, a Mustang GT, does 0 to 100 in 3.7 seconds. It is electric, does 490 kilometres in electric mode, has a very big screen, not unlike a Tesla, but also has a 490 kilometre range in electric mode. Price-wise, yeah, they start about 82,000 euros. And his teammate Sergio Perez was also in exactly the same car, exactly the same colour, and neither of them walked the green carpet. Welcome to the green carpet, and this is unique to Austria. There's only one other place you can get close to drivers reliably, and that is Melbourne at the Melbourne Walk. But today there'll be, I imagine, a couple of thousand people here clamouring for a view of their favourite F1 driver. As not all, I think a couple will bypass this, but certainly most of the drivers will come through here in order to get to the paddock this morning. Effectively, if they do the green carpet, it probably adds another 15 to 20 minutes to their morning, because if you're going to do it, you don't want to disappoint too many people, so you've got to give a fair whack of your time. That is what the F1 drivers drove to the track. I'll give you one team principal, Franz Tost, in this simple VW Passat. Well, that's all from me. If you've enjoyed the video, please hit the like button, and know that coming up at certain races, I'll be doing meet and greets at the track. So if you're going to them, make sure you check out my Instagram channel at Kim Elman, and I'll post not only pictures during the week and from the track, but little mentions of when I'm doing those meet and greets. You'll find all of my digital images at prostarpics.com for a wide range of F1 photo books, signed prints from the likes of Jackie Stewart, Valtteri Bottas, Nick De Vries, Pierre Gasly, Esteban Ocon. The list goes on and on. Go to kimelman.com. You'll also find F1 photo books and a range of wall art. Thanks for watching, and stay passionate. Forget all that stuff about Magnussen's car. This is the right one here. Oh, it's not.